Bogota, Colombia is a beautiful country, but very cold. It's called the fridge. It's much colder than I ever thought it was. When I first went there, I packed shorts and t-shirts. Yeah, that was a huge mistake. The average temperature there is between 44 degrees and 66 degrees year round. Yeah, I was underpacked. I love these triple buses, by the way. It's a very modern city, but it's full of danger, but not the kind of danger you're thinking of, because walking around, I've never had an issue. Again, it's a beautiful, very clean, very modern city. The danger is taking off and landing. I've only done red-eye flights out of Bogota, Colombia. I've done red-eyes to and from, well, I guess two really, Dallas, Fort Worth, Miami, Florida, and to JFK. Why red eyes? Well, the flights arrive into those respective cities in the morning so people can connect to other cities and go elsewhere. To red eyes make the most sense. It is what it is. I've learned how to operate red eyes just fine. Arriving at the airport late at night. Again, the airport is still buzzing because this airport is busy almost the entire day and night. Lots of red eye flights to all over the world from Bogota. Here's a flight crew going to their hotel as we're coming from our hotel. Bogota, Colombia, and many airports down in South America and Central America require a special qualification from my airline specifically. Most pilots on property do not have the training to fly into Latin terrain. It's not something that anyone can just do. You have to be trained to go there. It's not just a standard airport. We have to have a special procedures that we have to comply with and prepare for both arriving and departing the airport due to all the terrain around the airport. Again, it's a very high airport, very thin air. The engines make much less power than they do down at sea level. So we have to be prepared for that. The airport is very modern and very large. They have two runways, runway 13 left and runway 13 right. Each is 12,467 feet long. Why so long? Well, remember, it's up high, right? Every plane needs more runway distance for takeoff. This is how it is. I've only landed on 13 right twice. I've always used for almost exclusively 13 left and the inverse of 31 right. And 13 left is the primary takeoff and landing runway from what I have seen. Now, as far as the terrain goes, runway 13 right has less restrictions. Look at here at the missed approach for 13 right. It's a right-hand turn, but look, it goes through a little valley of almost no terrain beneath you, so it has less restrictions than 13 left has. Taking off from runway 13 left, you make a left-hand turn over a lot more terrain, so there's more restrictions on the climb limits on 13 left than 13 right. Also of note, look how low you can go. It depends on what category aircraft you are and how much of a climb gradient you can make. The more you can make, the lower you can go. It's only like 100 or so feet, so it's not a big difference, but it's an issue that we have to deal with going into Bogota. Again, 13 right is much less restrictions than 13 left. Because of that, my airline has a special engine op procedure for all aircraft operating here, and it is the right-hand turn. I can't show it to you because it's proprietary, but it is similar to this departure here. It is a right-hand turn inside of the VOR and out toward a safer, lower terrain area. Again, taking off to the northeast, a lot more terrain. And that's the normal procedure, by the way. Normal procedure is taking off to the 13 left and making a left-hand turn. If you lose an engine, you're going to go right. This is flight 1126 from Bogota to JFK. For all runway performance, they were all flaps to, all toga, all APU on. The V speeds are presented below. These are wet numbers, meaning V1 is lower than it normally is on a dry runway because V1 is our reject speed. V1 is lower to allow us to stop on the remaining pavement on a wet runway. As far as our weight goes, 155,300 pounds. There is no assumed weight because we're doing a max performance takeoff with toga power, which again is not a normal procedure. Normally we use a flex power takeoff. Even in Bogota, I've taken on a flex power takeoff on maybe a flight to Miami, a shorter, or we have less people on board or less cargo on board. There are many limits as far as performance goes. So we can be climb limited, meaning single engine climb rate. What can we do if we lose an engine and safely get out of the area? There's runway limit. There's also a fuel limit, like a landing weight limit. So on everything but 13 right, we were climb weight limited. On 13 right alone, we were landing weight limited. Again, I've never taken off 13 right. I've only landed on runway 1 or 2 times. I've taken off on 31 left, the same piece of pavement, just 1 time. Before every takeoff, no matter where we're taking off from, and before even we land, we have to make sure we have enough performance to lose an engine at the most inopportune time and come back to that airport or leave the area or arrive at the airport, go around, lose an engine, and safely leave the area. I tried this on Flight Sim 2020. Flight Sim 2020 is absolute trash for making videos. It's beautiful, but it's hard to have repeating the same thing over and over again. So we're using X-Plane 12 today. Airbus 319 on runway 13 left. It's daytime, so it's easier for you guys to see. Before every takeoff, we get on the runway and we advance the thrust levers to 50% N1, at least for a CFM engine. Once they're stabilized at 50%, we advance them to toga. Now, keep an eye on my PFD. You'll see the little side stick indicator going half nose down. That's normal to about 80 knots. At 80 knots, I will release my side stick pressure mostly and to be all the way out by 100 knots. Now, that's what you see right here is a normal takeoff. Just to show you the difference between a normal takeoff and what happens if we lose an engine on 13 left and attempt to turn left. Now, again, this is a 12,467 foot long runway. It's extremely long. But because we're up at 8,600 feet, it takes a long time for planes to get enough energy to safely get off the ground. So it's a very long takeoff roll, even at full power. If we were in Dallas, Fort Worth, or Miami on a similar runway, we could use less than 1/3 the runway, even in toga, maybe half at full power. But here we go, rotating with a good, maybe 1/3 of the runway ahead of us. We plenty of room to stop. And we're going to make a left-hand turn. Now, keep an eye on that building out there. Now, again, it's not representative of how it really is because X-Plane 12 does not have the best graphics, but it's much better physics. We're making a left-hand turn, and we're slowly climbing up, but accelerating nicely up to leave the area. Now, next, you're going to see the same procedure done right before V1, but now I'm going to lose the left engine. And when the left engine goes away, so does the left generator, and it does cause some power fluctuations, and you will see how the auto brake system turns off. Now, I'm not sure if that is a simism or if that's an actual thing of the aircraft, but I had to deal with it regardless. Now, again, the V1 cut is a very over-taught maneuver. Most pilots will never even lose an engine in an entire career. I've lost one in 15 years, and it was up at altitude, not down low. But here we are again, and you can see the 1 on my speed scale coming up right at V1. The left engine will fail. It could be a bird strike or just a rollback, but the engine goes away. My auto brakes do turn off at that point. There they go. They're gone. Now I'm going to keep my plane on center line and make sure I'm stabilized before taking off the ground and climbing into the air. Again, staying over the center of the runway because that is my safe area. The runway center line is safe all the way out for several miles. Climbing up, and I'm going to center the rudder. I'm giving full right rudder at this point. It takes a lot of power to overcome the yawing tendency. You don't want to come off the ground and be yawing around because you're adding drag to the aircraft with a much worse performance. But look at that building right there. Yeah, it's right in front of me. We are not climbing well at all. And again, these are all in theories, right? No one really knows how well aircraft is going to perform, but engineers do all the numbers and they say, in theory, this is how the aircraft will perform, and this is how it's looking at right now. But this is why a left-hand turn is bad. Look at the terrain right ahead of us. It is not a good idea to take a left-hand turn after losing an engine in Bogota, Colombia. That's why the engineers at my airline have a prescribed procedure for the 737 MAX, the 777, and the Airbus 319. Those are the only aircraft that operate in Bogota for my airline. All of us have the same procedure, the right turn. So we're going to try it again. And the next one I'm going to show is like, I'm sure what someone's wondering, well, Darren, if you lose an engine right there at V1, why not just reject the takeoff and stop on the remaining pavement? Shouldn't you be able to do that? But again, once we reach V1, we're going airborne unless the aircraft will not take off. It is not a good idea to reject past V1. You are throwing all the numbers out the window, and you're becoming a test pilot, and that's how you end up in court being sued for injuring people. Back to the whole idea of rejecting on the runway. Here is a reject right at V1. And again, it's not realistic because in real life, there's a startle factor. Like when something happens, you get startled and you have a few seconds of what the heck's going on. But right at V1, I knew it was coming. I applied max braking, max reverse on the remaining thrust lever. And this is what's happening. Again, max reverse, it's nice, but it's making less power because we're super high, right? So max reverse, and we're going to go off the end of the runway. And that is on a dry runway. If it was wet, yeah, you can go off into the trees, and there's buildings at the end of the runway further down as well. So it's never a good idea to reject past V1. And with that, that is my longest video I've ever made. To make this video because FS 2020 is horrible. X-Plane better. Anyways, aircraft performance is very complicated. I did the best I could to stay in my lane and keep it correct. Math is not my best subject, so I try to stay out of the math. But regardless, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for sticking around this whole long video, and have a fabulous day.